My wife thought it was really stupid, but she doesn't know good movies.
Yeah.
And she doesn't listen to this, so she'll never hear me say it. So...
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Nerd You're Looking For podcast, a weekly nerd culture podcast that discusses the culture through various segments. My name is Patrick Kuhn, alongside my co-host as always, that Tyler Hunt. How's it going, man?
It's going okay. I'm really, really tired, but
Yeah, me too.
We're doing this and it's going to be fun, so.
Yeah, for sure. This is usually in the part of the conversation where you would ask, "Oh, how are you doing?"
Sorry, how are you doing?
Is this your first conversation?
I think I have Asperger's. I'm sorry.
I'm a little stressed from work. It's been kind of crazy lately, but I'm getting into stand-up again. I kind of took a few months off, and so I've been doing that pretty much every week, and I'm really digging it. This last show was awful. Like, I felt bad because it's the last two shows were like, I just like fucking murdered it. It was ridiculous. There was a show a couple of weeks ago that I felt like, and this was I had good shows, but it was the first time where I felt like I could say whatever the fuck I wanted to, and I just had them in the palm of my hand. They were laughing at every word that I was saying. It was nuts. This past week, not so much. And it was, the only reason I brought it up was because something happened that was funny afterwards. So I got off stage. Well, first of all, I was halfway through my set, and it's just like a bar. So it's just, they have a stage and everything, but they have all this equipment and all this lighting stuff, and I guess they had just bought it. And so they were trying it out. And I guess they decided like middle way through my set to turn all of the lights off and just have this like an actual comedy club. But nobody told me that was going to fucking happen. So the lights just went out halfway through my set. So that was a little distracting. But I mean, the spotlight came on and everything was fine. I just thought that there probably could have been a better time to do that than someone stand in the middle of their set. But afterwards I got off the stage, and this really, really drunk guy comes up to me. He goes, "Hey man, I really liked your set." I was like, "Thanks. I appreciate it." And kind of get away from me now. And he was like, "How much of that did you write?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, some of those jokes were really good. How much of that did you write?" I was like, "I wrote all of it." He's like, "Oh, okay. That was really awesome." I was like, "Yeah, but like, I guess he thought that I Googled some of it. I don't know." It was weird. And then like, it was like a line, and the next drunk guy came behind him, and he was like, "I do this new bit. I just wrote it and I'm really proud of it." And it didn't get the reaction I was hoping it would, but whatever. I talk about how now that I do stand up, people either ask me to tell them a joke or tell me a joke, and the jokes are never funny, and they always end with, "You can have that one." And I just, in the bit, I make fun of how stupid that is. Like, I'm never going to do that. So basically I was telling the crowd, don't fucking do that. That's stupid. The guy comes up to me. He's like, I got a couple of good ones for you. It's like, you fucking kidding me, man? Right after the guy that asked me if I wrote all my material, it was stupid. And the jokes weren't even funny, of course. Yeah. And he was super drunk and he kept putting his hands on me. He was very handsy. It was really awkward. And I was standing next to the table that has all the other comedians. So that, I mean, they were all cracking up, but it was super awkward. I really got to the point where I almost said, "Get the fuck away from me now." Like I've appeased you. I appreciate that you liked it. Stop touching me. Like, seriously, it was awkward.
Well, I'm surprised that there was a lack of professionalism at Lamasco's. Lamasco's bar in Evansville, Indiana.
It was just, it wasn't even that late at night, too. And it was a Monday night, and these two guys were fucking just smashed. It was like 9:30 on a Monday night. It was crazy.
So why was this one just so bad? You not get the laughs?
It was a weird crowd, and by weird, I mean almost non-existent crowd. There was very few people there. There was probably maybe 15 people there, And I would say about 6 or 7 of them were comedians. And it's really hard to get fellow comedians to laugh. Like a lot of the times they will, especially at an open mic like this, they will kind of laugh, just kind of participate because they know how tough it is to be up there.
Yeah.
But that's not a real laugh.
Yeah.
And so it's either you get smiles because they know how the sausage is made, or you get like that pity laugh. And I honestly, I'd rather you just sit there and not do anything.
Yeah.
And so I just wasn't getting much of a reaction. And the other crowd, there's a lot of regulars that come at Lamasco's. And so it was a lot of them, and they'd seen, I mean, most of the stuff that I did this past week was new material, but I still kind of, I like to sprinkle in some stuff that I know works. Just that's because I'm trying stuff out as practice for me. Open mics are always just, I kind of see it as just practice, but I like to have stuff that I know kind of kills to sprinkle in there. So, it makes it kind of enjoyable. But if you've heard some of this stuff, I still think the jokes are funny, but it doesn't work as well. I did call a guy an idiot while I was on stage. I was like, yeah, just in case, just hypothetically, if we were having a conversation, which probably would never happen because I don't like talking to idiots. So if you're that guy, I'm sorry that I called you an idiot.
No, I respect that you own the bad nights and the good nights. So
yeah. I don't know. I got pretty upset about it because I was really looking forward to it. I posted this on Facebook. It's not a good sign, like, for my mental state that I get more upset about bombing than I am happy that I do well. Like, It's not equal. I feel more upset when I don't do well than I am happy when I do well.
I feel like that.
And I just said doo-doo.
I feel like that's human nature a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
But anyways, we're a little off topic. If this is your first episode, thanks for checking us out. But you kind of picked a weird episode because normally what we do, I mean, we have a main topic and it changes. But for the most part, especially during the summer, we do a lot of movie reviews. Well, Ant-Man's coming out this week, and normally we'd go see it Thursday night, and then we'd record Friday night, and then we'd release it on Monday. Well, Tyler is going out of town this weekend for a wedding. So we're not going to be able to do that. We're recording Wednesday night, so neither one of us have seen Ant-Man. So we are still going to do an Ant-Man review. It'll just be next week that we do it. If you're itching to find out what at least I think of Ant-Man, I will point you in the direction of our friends over at The Obsessive Viewer. They've been gracious enough to let me join their Ant-Man review, which I think we're recording Sunday or Monday. I guess it doesn't fucking matter when we record. It will be releasing sometime next week. So if you need to get the nerd you're looking for fix, at least me, check that out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to actually listening to it too, because
Is it going to be weird for you? Because, like, you're going to already know how I feel about the movie?
It's going to kind of be like somebody sleeping with my wife.
A podultery?
Yeah. It's kind of like I'm going to be a cuckold situation. Like, oh yeah, use his voice. But no, I don't know. It'd be weird when we do our review, like you said. I mean, I'll know ahead of time what you thought of the movie.
I never even thought about that too, because I mean, I immediately was like, well, I don't know. I want to do it because they're awesome guys, and I love having conversations with them. Especially, I mean, I like Tiny too, but Matt's my dear friend I've known him forever, and I don't get to hang out with him very often. So this is kind of a cool way for me to hang out with him. And I just love having conversations with him about movies. But I never thought that it might be weird when we do, because obviously I'm still going to feel the same way about Ant-Man that I did a few days ago. It's going to be awkward.
Well,
but
save your star rating for our podcast. I know they don't do star ratings on this. So.
All right, cool.
Or I could do this.
I could just troll their podcast.
I don't want to.
I fucking hated it, man.
I don't want to kind of show our listeners how the sausage is made, but that's a phrase you literally just used like 10 minutes ago. So, sorry about that. But I could do my Ant-Man review on the site, and then we could review something completely different next week. I don't even know what comes out.
Yeah. I was planning on reviewing Trainwreck.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that movie. Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. We still got like a week to think about it.
We got time.
Yep. All right, cool.
Anyways, like I mentioned before, we kind of, again, got off a little off track. We are not going to do our normal segment. This is going to be kind of an abbreviated episode. We are going to be doing a little bit of nerd news, last episode we recorded before the big day of the Comic-Con. So we recorded Friday night, and a lot of the big stuff, the trailers and whatnot, were released on Saturday. So we didn't get a chance to discuss that. So Tyler's gonna to kind of lead that discussion, and then we're going to do a main topic, which, like I said, we haven't seen Ant-Man yet. So we're going to talk about our top 5 favorite 2015 movies so far. We always do an episode at the beginning of the year, top 10 favorite movies with Matt Hurt from The Obsessive Viewer. And so since we're kind of a little over a middle of the way through the year, we figured we'd just kind of do a little bit of a checkup, see where we're at with the movies so far this year. So Tyler, why don't you go ahead and lead us with nerd news?
Okay. So honestly, I thought Comic-Con was going to be full of a lot more news than it was. It was mostly
Marvel not being there kind of hit it pretty hard.
Well, even DC, like, they showed off a couple trailers, and we'll get to that, and it was cool, but they didn't announce anything movie-wise, anything casting-wise. Same with Star Wars. No new Star Wars trailer, no new Star Wars footage. Oh, I guess there was a little new footage. On that behind-the-scenes thing they released, but they didn't really say anything about the future movies or the anthology movies like we thought they might, so it was mostly just a lot of footage that we'll talk about here in a second.
Yeah, trailers and whatnot.
There were 2 pieces of news that I wanted to bring up because I thought they were pretty cool. The first one is pretty small. Joss Whedon's doing a comic for Dark Horse called Twist, and he describes it as a female Victorian age Batman. And I guess she has a brush with death and she almost dies and she comes back, not with powers or anything, but almost like a vigilante in a Victorian time. So it sounds like a cool comic as it is, but the fact that Joss Whedon is attached to it, I thought was pretty awesome.
I wonder, and I highly doubt if this has anything to do with it, because a lot of these projects have been in the works for a while. We just don't know about them. I wonder if this is kind of his rebuttal to some of the sexist allegations from Age of Ultron.
Yeah. Which is so dumb. He's always been a guy that you could tell cares about strong female characters. And for him, of all people, to be attacked for Age of Ultron, which I know this is a little off topic, it was just insane. So I don't think he needs to prove himself at all, to be honest.
No, I don't either, but I wonder if that's something that is in the back of his mind, or maybe, like I said, a lot of these projects take so long to develop. It's probably been in the works for a little bit.
Yeah. It's pretty cool that he's taken such a big step back from film, though. I mean, his last 2 projects, I guess not counting that movie he did. What was that movie he did between Avengers movies?
What is it? Is the Shakespeare?
Yes.
God damn it.
Yeah. I wish I remembered.
Much Ado About Nothing?
Yeah, Much Ado About Nothing. Besides that movie, like his last 2 projects obviously have been the Avengers movies and these huge big budget things. So it's kind of cool that he's taken a step back and doing something kind of low scope, but still really creative.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. So moving right along, I've talked about on the podcast before how big a fan I am of the DC animated universe.
Yes.
All of the DC straight to DVD and Blu-ray.
One of the few things I think DC is doing better than Marvel at.
Yeah, they're doing awesome with them, and they've done some high profile comics before, especially in the Batman universe. They did Year One and they did The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2. They're doing probably the next most popular Batman comic of all time, probably, which was The Killing Joke.
Yeah.
They're doing that next year. Bruce Timm announced that. And it's a pretty violent comic. You've read it, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's pretty violent, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think that it's going to be adapted. It's a good comic to be adapted.
Yeah, I like how DC, with their animated movies, they're not afraid to go more dark. The one thing that I don't like about Marvel animated movies, and some people have the complaint about their live action movies as well, is they're much more kid friendly.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You can still make a good movie and it be more kid friendly. But I mean, with characters like Batman and stuff like that, I like him dark. I mean, the 66 Batman does have its place, and I do enjoy that show. Much rather take The Dark Knight over that Batman.
Yeah. I mean, between Arkham Knight, this animated project, and the trailer for Batman v Superman, which we'll get to in a second, there's a huge spotlight on like the Joker and the death of the family type situation with like either Jason Todd or with Barbara Gordon getting paralyzed by the Joker and The Killing Joke. So, it's kind of interesting that there's a huge spotlight on that right now.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, really looking forward to that. Hopefully, the only thing that I'll be disappointed in is if Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill don't do the voices. I know Mark Hamill said in the past that's like the one Joker role he really wants to play that he has left in him is a Killing Joke if that were to ever be adapted. So hopefully they can lock him down.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
All right, cool. So the last 3 things we have are trailers that were released. Well, 2 were released and 1 was bootleg, but we both watched the bootleg one. So we'll go ahead and talk about it just for conversation's sake. So we got 2 DC movies and a Marvel movie. So we'll just make a sandwich. We'll do a DC movie and then Marvel and then DC. So
I thought you forgot how sandwiches work.
I don't know why I'm explaining this in such detail. Nobody fucking cares what order we do it in.
I thought you were having a stroke.
Kind of feel like it. All right, let's just start off. Oh fuck! Do we start off with the big one?
You forgot how you made your sandwich, didn't you?
All right, let's start off with what I feel is like the smallest of the 3.
Okay.
And we won't argue about this one as much, I wouldn't think. Suicide Squad.
Okay.
So what'd you think of the Suicide Squad trailer? Before we talk about it, actually, it's kind of funny. It wasn't going to be released. It was, there was a bootleg version and Warner Brothers kind of said, well, we don't,
fuck it.
Yeah, we didn't want to do this, but we don't want the poor picture quality trailer to be out. So
yeah, that's what's the problem with this trailer.
Yeah. So
not that it looks like everybody's just mailing it in.
so that's your problem with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to tell. It's a 3-minute trailer, to be honest with you. It's really hard to tell. Will Smith, I mean, all of them just look like this is a paycheck.
I see. With all 3 of these movies, I'm withholding judgment until they come out. So, I mean, when Suicide Squad's out, I know we're both going to be right there watching it and reviewing it. And
oh yeah, for sure.
Put down our money for it. So, that being said, this movie got a lot of positive reaction, and I honestly wasn't too impressed with it.
No, not at all. I'm excited to see Leto's Joker.
Yeah.
He looks kind of interesting. The dialogue is just cringeworthy.
Everything but Leto in that trailer for me was.
I mean, his grill. I mean, all of it. Just the whole demeanor is just like, ugh.
When Amanda Waller walks up to Harley Quinn's cell and Harley Quinn asks her if she's the devil, I cringed. I'm like, why? Like, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah,
like, it's just like a really weird piece of dialogue. Yeah. And like you said, Will Smith seems like he's just phoning it in.
I mean, he's not in it that much, but it's just like, I don't know. And then Killer Croc looks like shit.
I thought Killer Croc looked better in the trailer than he has in these set photos.
Yeah.
Like, because there's some kind of CGI on it.
Oh, yeah,
it makes
for sure.
It look more realistic than this foam Killer Croc walking around on set. But
yeah,
I didn't really hear too much of Harley's voice in it. And I worry that Margot Robbie's not doing enough of the accent. I don't know what that accent is, like a Brooklyn type accent or a New Jersey type accent that Harley Quinn's known for. And I thought that she'd be really good at that because of the way she portrays her character in The Wolf of Wall Street. But it almost seems like she's not going out there enough for me. Like, I want my Harley to be out there quite a bit.
And the whole bat shotgun thing I just feel like they're trying way too hard.
Bat shotgun.
Where she is pretending her bat is that little.
There's a brief.
Oh yeah. No, I feel like they're trying really hard.
Yeah. The best part about this movie, I think, is going to end up being Leto. I have high hopes for him, despite what I might think about the tattoos and stuff. The small part that we see of him was really creepy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think that since he's just such a great actor, he's going to knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
And I'll be able to probably forgive the tattoos in the long run if his performance is that strong throughout.
This is completely irrelevant. Yeah. And I apologize for bringing it up, but I just watched a movie that I'd seen like 1,000,000 times and I forgot that he was even in it. Have you ever seen Prefontaine?
I've never heard of that movie.
Oh, well, it's about a track runner. And anyways, Jared Leto's Prefontaine. Why? They're completely irrelevant. I just literally watched it for the first time in like 10 years, and I'd seen it like a lot when I was a little kid. I like that movie.
About a track runner 1,000,000 times.
I don't know. It was one of those movies. My parents had the movie channels, the Showtime and Cinemax and all that other good stuff, and they would just play a movie for like a week straight. And when I would get home from I almost said work. No, when I would get home from school, I would just turn on one of those and just watch a movie like 3-4 times in one day. So I've seen that movie like 1,000,000 times. And I forgot that it was even him because it was before I even knew who really actors were. I didn't really seek anybody out. It was just like, whoa, he's in this movie, he's in that movie. And so I kind of forgot that he was in it. He's really good in it, by the way.
He's good in almost everything he does. He seems like he's a little out there as a person, but.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I didn't realize that motherfucker's 43 years old.
Yeah, he's been around for a while.
I guess it makes sense. He's been doing stuff for a long time, but he does not look 43. Like, he's older than Ben Affleck.
Yep.
That's insane to me.
All right.
All right, cool. So moving on. The Deadpool trailer was not released officially, but there's a pretty decent looking bootleg copy out there that
decent looking.
Okay. Now
the person doesn't even know to turn it horizontal.
It shows enough. It shows the whole picture and gets the sound.
Yeah.
So
sort of.
So I know you watched it because you posted something on the Facebook about it. What'd you think of the Deadpool trailer?
I loved it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah,
did they use the footage? Because like a long time ago, I think it was like at the one of the very beginning of the podcast, we talked about the leaked footage. It seemed like they did something very similar in the trailer, where he kind of jumps into the semi and he kicks some ass, and it seemed like that was a lot. That was really similar to the leaked footage.
I don't think it was the exact footage.
No.
But yeah, it was like that scene on the highway was pretty much what the test roll was.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I loved it.
Yeah. I like that Colossus is in it. I think that's funny. And that's cool that there are X-Men characters in this Deadpool universe, which I'm assuming is going to technically be in the same universe as the X-Men movies.
And Fantastic Four. Yep.
I thought some of the humor was kind of, not childish, but just kind of like I rolled my eyes at, but I have that whenever I read Deadpool comics too.
Yeah.
A lot of humor I like, and then there's a lot of Deadpool humor that I kind of roll my eyes at, so that'd probably be how the movie would be. But I'm really happy that 20th Century Fox kind of gave this movie its room to be itself, like with, as far as it being rated R and the crazy violence and the crazy humor. They haven't done that with one of their comic book properties yet, because everything's been I feel like Tim Rothman, who used to be the head of 20th Century Fox, he was kind of known for being a micromanager of these movies and kind of bullying the directors into going a certain way with it. So it's good to see that maybe they didn't do that so much with this movie.
Yeah. I mean, it looks awesome. I'm really digging it. Everything I've seen through their kind of viral campaign marketing, to this, I mean, even though it wasn't the movie studio that released it, I mean, the trailer it looked awesome.
Yep, for sure. This next one, so if you like us on Facebook and you're wondering why last weekend our Facebook seemed a little schizophrenic with with differing opinions 2 days in a row, that's because obviously Pat and I both post things to the Facebook and to the Twitter, and we have differing opinions on this next one. So the Batman v Superman trailer, Pat is not a fan of, and I'm a
hashtag hot mess.
What'd you say? The hot mess? Hot mess?
Hashtag hot mess.
Hashtag hot mess. Don't say that. No, I got so pumped watching that movie. I was so excited. I was like, Brittany, my wife, I was like, I know you really don't care, but I just have to show somebody this. And I showed her, and she just kind of looked at me like, why? I'm not having sex with you for 2 months. Like, no, but
that was irrelevant. It had nothing to do with the
trailer. But no, I mean, I love it. I want to hear why you don't like it.
It just seems really crowded. It was exactly what I thought when I kept hearing, oh, well, this person's cast is Wonder Woman. This person's going to be in it. This person's going to be in it. Everything I was afraid of, it seemed to kind of come together in this trailer. It just seemed, I don't know.
I don't know.
At first, it seemed like Superman was the villain, and then in this trailer, it was kind of, they painted Batman as the villain, which makes sense because this was kind of first billed as a Man of Steel sequel, so it would kind of make sense that Batman would be the villain, and it's really weird, and then all of a sudden Wonder Woman's there, and I mean, I know it's a 3-minute trailer, but since we're talking about it, and that's all we have going for this movie so far, I don't know. It just seems all over the place. It just seems like it's going to be like a 3.5-hour movie.
See, for me, I don't think that I can tell that it's all over the place yet, because we don't know that much about the plot.
Sure.
We know that Bruce Wayne gets pissed off at Superman because one of his towers gets destroyed in the Metropolis fight for Man of Steel, and he kind of goes out to get Superman, and Lex Luthor's in there somewhere with some kryptonite, and that's basically the gist I have of the movie. What I think enjoyed so much about the trailer were all the nods to the comics.
Yeah, for sure.
So you have the Robin suit in the Batcave, which Batman's always had a Robin suit since Jason Todd died. And not only is it in the Batcave, but it has graffiti on it from, I'm assuming, when Joker killed Jason Todd. They could change that for the movie, but that's how it is in the comics.
Yeah.
There's a scene where I saw it compared to the shot from The Dark Knight Returns where Batman's grappling off a building and there's lightning in the background. It's like an exact recreation of that. Yeah, for sure. I don't know how many times poor Thomas and Martha Wayne have to get killed.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's like anytime Batman's in anything, you have to have a flashback to that. And I don't mind it. There's not a lot that goes into that. I guess you have to reemphasize why Batman's doing what he's doing often. I don't know.
Yeah.
But besides that, like you said, I could see how this movie come next March when it's out would be really crowded. But so far, I don't have anything to have that. I didn't get that impression from the trailer like you did. I just really enjoyed it for what it was. I also saw this cool thing today, which showed a side-by-side comparison of where in the trailer Bruce Wayne's watching the tower and like the lasers coming through it at the beginning. And it's shown next to a scene from Man of Steel. And it's like the exact scene in Man of Steel where that would be happening that Bruce Wayne's watching, like the laser beams match up. And I thought that kind of care that was put into that was pretty cool. I mean, obviously that's not going to make or break a movie. I just thought that was kind of cool and was worth mentioning that scene is actually in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
But yeah, besides that, I don't really have too much more to say. I'm really excited for this movie, and I mean, you'll see it.
I'm going to say it regardless. I saw Man of Steel. I mean, I've seen Man of Steel since then. I don't know why.
Have you seen Man of Steel twice?
Yeah.
See, I want to watch it again, and I've only seen it the one time in theaters. And I remember I dozed off in the climax.
Yeah.
I didn't.
That's weird because I'm usually dozing off after the climax. Sex joke.
Oh, I wouldn't say that I liked that movie, but I thought there were qualities to it that were redeeming, and I know that's not a popular opinion. It's definitely more panned, I think, than it is acclaimed or anything.
I liked it less the second time I watched it. I caught different things that I mean, the first time you watch any movie, it's just like you have to kind of focus on the plot points and who's this character, who's that character. The second time around, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So you can kind of pay attention to the nuances. And there was a couple of things that bothered me. Nothing that I can name off the top of my head because it's been a couple of months, but
I need to watch it again. But there was this guy I worked with at my old store, and that I asked him what his favorite movie that year was, and it was the end of 2013. Yeah, it came out in 2013, and he said Man of Steel. I was just kind of like, you sure about that? So, needless to say, not a great taste in movies.
Yeah, I hate talking to people like that. It's like you have to pretend like, oh yeah, that was okay.
The thing is, he wasn't just like a casual moviegoer who's like, oh, that looks awesome, doesn't know shit about movies and just says stuff like, oh, my favorite movie this year is Transformers or anything like that. Yeah. Like, he's a geek. Like, he goes and he reads comics and plays board games.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, it's really strange. But anyways, enough talking about this. This
Man of Steel, yeah.
So, all right, that's it. Nerd News is done.
All right. So, like I mentioned, that really awkward and long open, we are going to do a top 5 favorite 2015 films so far. Like I said, it's about halfway through the year, actually a little bit more than halfway through the year. And so we're just kind of check up with each other, see where we're at with our movie watching this year. And I don't know about you, Tyler, but for me, it's been kind of a soft year. There's been a lot of movies that I've been looking forward to and have been kind of disappointed in.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with number 5, when we actually get into the actual list, I really struggled to find 5 movies.
For sure. I had 4 right away.
Yeah.
4 solid, probably will make my top 10 list unless something just completely blows me away from now and then. For now until then, I mean, we still have Oscar season coming up, so a couple of those movies are probably going to make it in.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that Ant-Man finds its way in there. So, I mean, there's definitely still time, but for me, there's a lot of movies this year that aren't bad, but aren't great. Just like nothing that really blew me away. So it was really tough for me to find a 5th choice.
Yeah, I keep tally of all the movies I see in a particular year is
Oh yeah,
in addition to other lists that kind of show my movie watching habits. But going through the list, it was almost really sad.
Yeah.
Like there's been a lot of shit this year.
Yeah, and it's not even that there's been a lot of shit, which there has. My worst of list, and maybe I'm just getting a little bit more brutal with that list, has a ton of films on it this year. Just like Chappie, Poltergeist, Strange Magic, which I don't even know why I fucking saw that movie. I was actually looking at that list and I was like, oh yeah, I did watch that terrible fucking movie. Goddamn George Lucas. And I just added Terminator to that list, which that movie's probably the front runner for me for worst movie of the year. Which actually, I wanted to talk to you about this and I don't know why I didn't do it before the podcast. Do you want to do a nerd least favorite? Your favorite, least favorite movie after we're done with our top 5?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I'll be able to get something off of here.
Okay, cool. I mean, I kind of buried the lead a little bit or spoiled it a little bit. It's probably going to be Terminator, or it will be Terminator for me. But anyways.
So should we not do it? Should I just say mine right now? And that's not
yeah, go ahead. Say yours.
I did a review for the site a couple.
Oh, no.
No. Did you see it?
You're not going to pick Minions, are you?
I gotta defend it though. So I did a review for the site last weekend and I gave Minions a terrible review and it's the lowest I've rated a movie this year. And while I stand by that rating of my thoughts on that movie, I wouldn't say it's the worst movie I've seen this year. So the worst movie I've seen this year, looking through my list, oh man, Poltergeist was really bad and Unfinished Business was really bad and Hot Tub Time Machine 2 was really bad and Chappie was really bad. Like there's so many to choose from. I would say it's pretty neck and neck between Poltergeist and Minions.
Okay. That breaks my heart a little bit. Not about Poltergeist because that movie was garbage. Minions? I have not yet.
There's a lot of people that probably won't agree with me for rating it so low because, I mean, it's an animated movie. There's a lot of time put into it. And so it's not just going to be a big pile of garbage. I kind of hated it for other reasons and I didn't think it was funny. And it didn't live up to the Despicable Me movies, which I love.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what you think of it.
Okay.
Hopefully, for your sake, I've lowered your expectations enough to where you go in and you enjoy it.
Okay.
But I would say between Minions and Poltergeist, were equally bad experiences.
All right, cool. Well, I'm guessing since you, like me, had a hard time finding 5, I'm guessing you're not going to have any honorable mentions.
No.
Okay, cool. Well, then we'll just go ahead and start with 5. What's your number 5?
So this is how bad it was for me to, and
I'll be surprised if you even heard of my number 5 pick.
Okay.
All right.
So you'll obviously, we've reviewed, there were actually, I guess I technically did have an honorable mention, but I wouldn't call it an honorable mention because there were 2 movies that I had a fun time watching, and that's the only reason that they were able to make it into the top tier of what I've seen so far this year because everything else has been so mediocre or bad.
Yeah, for sure.
Those 2 movies were Avengers and Jurassic World.
Okay.
Both of which I didn't want to include in this top 5, but I was kind of forced into because all of the other movies, like I said, weren't great, and I at least had an enjoyable time watching these films. So I understand that. I ended up edging Jurassic World out with Avengers. I put Avengers Age of Ultron as my number 5. It definitely won't be in my in my top 10 at the end of the year, like, unless the rest of the year is just garbage, which I don't think it will be. It was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. I enjoy the characters. I enjoy the action. I enjoyed Ultron a lot. I mean, if you want to hear more, you can listen to our review of it on the podcast from a few months ago. But yeah, Avengers. That's my number 5.
I don't know. I just feel it's not that I have a sour taste in my mouth about that movie. Yeah. It just, something about it just didn't feel right. And I talked about it in the review. It just didn't feel like it concluded anything. It just felt like the phase 1 was building on itself. And then the conclusion of that phase 1 was Avengers. And then phase 2 kind of picked up after that and it built and built and built. And then Age of Ultron wasn't that conclusion. It wasn't that climax.
Yeah.
I didn't get to blow my load. I mean, it just felt like it was building again.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just didn't. There was I don't want to say a lot. There was a few loose threads here and there, especially the Thor thing was definitely just lead into Infinity Wars. And so that was my big thing with it. And the pacing was a little off. I mean, the whole farm thing, even though it does give you that human connection, it slowed the pace down so much. You go from a badass Hulk / Iron Man fight to like 30 minutes on a farm.
Yeah.
And not that I don't mind character development. They don't need to be there doesn't need to be explosions and them fighting and all that stuff the whole time.
Yeah.
But it felt really like fragmented.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I agree with that. I know from our review, I ended up enjoying it more than you did. I think I gave it a 4 and you gave it a 3, as I remember looking back at our ratings.
I almost gave that a 2.5.
Yeah, I remember you just really weren't impressed with it. And I don't know that 4 will stick with me forever, like especially when it comes out on Blu-ray and I get to watch it a couple more times.
Sure.
But I remember it was a really enjoyable theater experience and it was something I was really excited for, and there were parts of it I really did enjoy. So that's why it squeaked into the top 5.
All right, cool, man. I also kind of had a similar thing. There was a movie I actually put in 5, and I was like, no, I think I'm going to edge it out. So the movie that almost made it, and I guess I did have an honorable mention then, is The Voices. Have you ever seen The Voices?
Is that the Ryan Reynolds movie?
Yep. I really enjoyed his performance. There was some aspects of it that didn't quite work for me, but it was probably the best I've ever seen Ryan Reynolds. Maybe outside of Definitely Maybe.
Yeah.
Probably easily his best performance. It's very well done. It's a dark comedy. I really enjoyed it. But that's not my number 5 pick. My number 5 pick is a documentary called Emptying the Skies. I actually reviewed it on the website, but I was pretty sure that Tyler didn't read it. So
I missed that one.
Yeah. Do you even know what this movie's about? Probably not, right?
Nope.
You're probably going to laugh at me when I tell you what it's about. It's about, I guess it's a huge problem in Europe. There are poachers. I almost said poachers.
I was really hoping you were going to say poltergeist. And I'm like, oh shit, is this about ghosts?
That hunt migrating songbirds.
Okay.
And, I'm laughing because you're smiling, and it sounds super boring. And I know that it sounds super like pretentious and boring, but I really enjoyed this movie. And I think it says a lot about a documentary that can take a subject that I don't give 2 fucks about and make it interesting to me. I only watched this movie because in our nerd years resolution, I said that I wanted to watch more documentaries and foreign films. I've been watching a lot of documentaries, not so much foreign films.
Yeah.
But that was the only reason I watched this movie. And I was really happy that I did because it was really great. It's heartbreaking for the first time when you see these birds caught in these traps because they're so helpless. But what this movie does really well is it shows you kind of the savage nature of these people and how they don't really care because it's kind of their tradition. But what the movie does so well is it makes you care about the people that are trying to save these birds. Like there's a group of people that basically get shot at, and they're volunteers. They don't get paid to do any of this. And they go get these birds out of these traps, and they destroy the traps, and because it's against the law, but people still do it. And so the movie does a really great job of kind of showing you the problem, making you care about the problem, and then here are all these people that are out there, the foot soldiers that are trying to stop the problem. And it makes you really, really care about the people. It does a really good job of making that connection. And I don't think I would have cared about this movie as much if it didn't do that.
Yeah, I can definitely respect that, but I think on this one I'm going to just take your word for it.
All right. Fair enough.
Sounds like a lullaby. I don't know if I can stay awake for it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if a documentary can make you care about something you gave 2 shits about beforehand, then I think it did its job. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's actually why I decided to put it in 5 versus The Voices, because I just don't feel the same way that I mean, Ryan Reynolds is amazing and it was a good movie, and if you haven't seen it, I would definitely check it out if you like dark comedies, but I felt more of a connection to this movie than I did with The Voices.
All right. Well,
all right.
So would you, this is off topic, but I went and saw Selfless last weekend.
Oh yeah? How was that?
I was going to do a review for it on the website, but I don't know even what to say about it.
Oh yeah? Was it bad?
It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but I don't want to get your hopes up. It wasn't good.
Oh, I had no intention of seeing it.
So, I mean, I would watch it when it came out. When it came out on on demand or
Oh yeah,
or even like especially Netflix, if it's free to watch.
Oh yeah.
it.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, it was a weird movie. I don't know.
All right, cool.
All right. Anyways, number 4.
Yes, sir.
Right. So my number 4 is It Follows.
Okay, cool.
Which it was just a part of Blu-ray Tuesday.
Yep.
Last week, I guess, when this comes out. So I haven't picked it up yet on Blu-ray, but I'm really looking forward to getting it and watching it again because I loved this movie in theaters. It's really innovative. I kind of wrote this in my blurb on the Blu-ray Tuesdays post on the website, but it is marketed as a horror movie, and I wouldn't call it a horror movie. I don't think it's scary at all. I would say it's more of a thriller, but it's so unique and, like I said a second ago, it's so innovative, and it's just really good storytelling that I really thoroughly enjoyed it in theater. My wife thought it was really stupid, but she doesn't know good movies. Yeah. And she doesn't listen to this, so she'll never hear me say that. So, I don't know. Yeah, it hit all the right notes for me. It was a really nice surprise. And like when it was released, April or March, like
I think it was like late March.
It's like a month where typically bad movies come out, like Chappie.
Yeah.
But it was a really big surprise, and so for sure it's number 4 for me.
Yeah, I reviewed it for the website, thenerdspodcast.com, and I kind of made a similar statement. I don't think it's necessarily a horror movie, but it's creepy. Like, I don't think anyone likes... I think people like to be scared, but you don't get scared in this movie. It's more you get creeped out because nobody enjoys being followed. And it does a really great job of putting you in the situation with the characters because there's the way the cameras moved around and the way they shot the movie where you can kind of see people off in the distance. You can see them walking towards the group and you don't know if that's it or if that's just a person walking. Sure. And so it definitely has that creepy feeling to it. And so I appreciated that. I was never scared. Not that I scare very easily, but I was never scared, but I was uneasy while I was watching it because of that. The ending for me, I just don't like that Inception type of ending. Yeah. And so that bothered me. I think that's been kind of popular since, well, I mean, it's happened before Inception, but that's kind of the biggest offender for me.
Yeah. I appreciate closure, so I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, I get that as a filmmaker, you want to make a film that different people can relate to. And so I would get it as an artist being, okay, well, I'm going to let you decide what you think as a viewer. So I can appreciate that as a person making it. But at the same time, I've sat through this movie, your story. I want you to tell me what the ending is.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. And I always feel better whenever I watch a movie I don't like to say this because it makes it seem like you don't want a movie to make you think.
Yeah.
Which I think a movie can make you think with also having closure.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate closure in a movie, like I was saying. And I think you hit the nail on the head with like the creepiness of this movie. The creepiest thing a horror movie can do is show me something off in the distance that the main character can't see. Like the movie The Strangers. Like whenever they're facing the camera, the main character is, and you see like somebody come in from the shadows and kind of disappear back into the shadows and stalking this person and they don't realize it. Like that's the creepiest thing to me. So it was basically an entire movie somewhat like that. So yeah, I think that's kind of why it hit home. All right. Anyways, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is a movie we reviewed early this year, Kingsman: The Secret Service.
Yep.
I'm assuming it's probably going to make your list, right, Tyler?
That is correct.
All right. I was pleasantly surprised at how much I liked this movie. I didn't expect too much. I'd never read the comic book. Actually, I think, Tyler, you were the one that convinced me to review it. I mean, I think we were going to go see it anyways, and it was kind of your idea. Well, I think this movie's going to be really good. It's based on a comic book. I think we'll have a lot to talk about. And so it was kind of your baby that we reviewed it on the podcast, and I'm really glad that we did because I enjoyed the fuck out of this movie. I bought it on Blu-ray just recently. It holds up. There's a few things here and there. Like I said with, Man of Steel. It's like you catch a few things now that I know the plot.
Yeah.
There's a few things. Samuel L's lisp in the movie really, I mean, it bugged me the first time I saw it, but goddamn, it's so distracting. And I get what he's trying to go for with the whole Bond villains. They always have that extinguishing characteristic to them. And I know that's what he was going for, but I think the baseball cap is almost like enough for that character. I don't think it necessarily needs a ton of stuff like that, but I don't know. I felt like his character was a little too unique.
Yeah.
I mean, with the whole McDonald's thing, and it felt like they were trying way too much with his character. And I'm kind of bashing this movie, but I really enjoyed it a lot. I think the meta humor really serves it well. It's really, really fucking funny. I've said this a few times. The beginning of it, like the beginning, probably like quarter of the movie, it feels like Guy Ritchie doing a spy movie, which I love Guy Ritchie. Some of his most recent movies aren't not the greatest, but for the most part, I really like his like British gangster, his earlier movies. So I really appreciated that. Taron Egerton is just fucking fantastic. I saw an article on IGN where they were listing their favorites for the Han Solo, like young Han Solo, and they had him on the list, and I got like half of a nerd boner because I mean he's fantastic, and he would be like the perfect young Han Solo. I mean I would lose it. Like that would be fantastic.
Yeah, because that's going to be a hard role to cast. So
yeah, for sure.
But I never even considered him when I was running through names in my head. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Right. The joke at the end, however, still bugs me. It's a funny joke because it kind of catches you off guard when she first says it.
Yeah.
And the fact that they call back to it, I love doing callbacks in my stand-up. I think that's so funny. Yeah. And so I like the callback. And it's a really subtle callback because he's getting the champagne bottles and stuff like that. And you're not quite sure what he's doing. And then he goes back to the room and I'm like, oh, that's pretty funny. I'll hand it to you. It's kind of doesn't really go well with the movie, but it is a funny joke. So I'll give you that. That still kind of bugged me a little bit, but for the most part, I mean, it's just a fantastic movie. The church scene, I actually appreciate that more now that I've seen it again, so I can kind of sit back and really appreciate how tedious that would have been to film. And so I really appreciated that. And the fact that there's a bit of a twist after the church scene. And I mean, it still hits home. I was surprised at how much I cared about that particular character and that particular scene the second time I saw it.
Yeah. I haven't dug into the Blu-ray features or anything on the...
I have not yet. I've been so busy with Arkham Knight that I have not got a chance to do it yet.
I really hope that they showed the making of that scene or something.
Oh, they have to.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
But I won't say too much because I'm going to have to say a couple things when we get to it on my list.
All right, cool, man. So what is your number 3?
Yeah, number 3, Mad Max, Fury Road.
Ooh, that's kind of low.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's there.
Spoiler alert. I guess I won't be talking that much in this one.
No, I mean, the only movie in my top 5 that we didn't review on the podcast is It Follows. So I don't know what else to say that I didn't already say in the review, but just again, this is a tired franchise, a franchise that people enjoyed, but nobody's really thought about for 20 years. And not only was this movie awesome and did it reinvigorate the franchise and the characters, but it was made by George Miller, who is in his 70s.
Yeah.
And aside from the story being awesome and it being like this great post-apocalyptic movie, I have so much respect for it because almost all of it was done with practical effects and practical vehicles and practical chases and not a lot of CGI, which I think is awesome. And, I love whenever there's strong female characters in movies, and this movie should not have been called Mad Max. It should have been called Furiosa.
Yeah.
Whatever her name is. The character that Charlize Theron plays, she's almost more of a main character than Max is in this movie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I appreciate like how crazy the visuals are and, how crazy this post-apocalyptic world is. Like any Mad Max movie, it displays it like that. But this movie was out there, but it was still really accessible to general audiences. And I'm so glad that it was successful at the box office and just, it was really strong all around.
All right.
Yep. All right. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is a movie that you talked about a couple episodes ago, What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, yeah. That is a 2015 movie, isn't it?
Yeah. And it comes out on Blu-ray next week or the week after, something like that.
Yeah. Next week, I think.
Yep. It's a mockumentary. It's basically Real World with vampires. I loved it because I'm much more of a fan of like subtle kind of dry humor. I guess because I'm kind of a hipster. I like the smart, like I'm smarter than you. I get this joke kind of stuff. I really appreciate that kind of stuff. I love that it's just so like it's vampires doing like monotonous tasks like chores. And I love how the fact that one of the characters is like 180, but he's the young one because they live forever. And it's so clever because it's a lot of, like I said, it's subtle humor. So it's a lot of things that if you were a vampire, of course, that's stuff that you would have to worry about. They can't get into clubs because they have to be invited. So the only club that they can get into is one with like, it's a vampires only club because the bouncer purposely knows that he has to invite them. And it's really funny. The reason it's not higher on my list is the fact that the ending didn't really stick with me. I thought it kind of fell apart a little bit towards the end. They have a particular character comes in, Nick, who gets turned as a vampire. And so there's some drama between the guy that I was talking about, the guy that's like 180 because he was the young one and now Nick's the young one. And there's some infighting there. And Nick has a human friend, and I think his name is like Stu or something. And he becomes more of a friend to them than the new vampire. And so there's some infighting there. And it doesn't land. The humor just doesn't stick with me. I did like that Rhys Darby, who is a fantastic comic. He's really, really funny. I love him on At Midnight. He's so like awkward and just, he's hilarious. He plays a werewolf. And I love how they're like, it's almost like werewolves, like AA, like they don't want to turn and they try to like, help each other kind of not get mad like the Hulk and change into werewolves. It's funny. The ending just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, it did kind of lose its appeal towards the end. I agree. It's almost like, how do you end a movie like that though? I could see how that would be the more difficult part in the writing process for a film like that, but you hit the nail on the head for sure. Like the subtle humor and just kind of seeing vampires living in everyday life. I think that's probably why shows like The Munsters and Addams Family were so popular back in the day. Just because there is this dry humor that's really catchy with it. Yeah.
And it's like, it's funny to see them out and about because they're so obviously because they've lived hundreds of years, they'd be really out of touch and they don't understand style or really anything. I mean, obviously it's played to humor because it's a hilarious movie, but I love that kind of out of touch type of humor, that awkwardness that like, I think awkward, like people being awkward is hilarious.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think that we might have brought this up whenever I talked about it for what I was into, but my favorite part of the whole movie is whenever, I forget the character's name, but the youngest vampire is going around waking everyone up.
Yeah.
Towards the beginning of the movie. What's the old vampire's name? Is it Peter?
Yeah, something like that.
It's just, he's like this crazy monster and his name's Peter. And I don't know. It's just all the subtle humor there is so great. So,
and they all have like weird, like old time, like Vlad.
Yeah.
Vladimir and his name is Peter. So that's pretty funny.
All right, man.
So what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Inside Out.
All right, cool.
So we just
that lined up.
Okay, awesome. I was wondering if that was going to happen with our lists.
Yeah.
So we just reviewed this a couple weeks ago, and we both gushed about it, and I'm going to continue gushing about it now. Just a really strong movie. Pixar's back on their feet, and they completely delivered with this film. I think what I love most about it, and it's probably why I didn't like the Minions as much as I was hoping to, is that this movie not only is funny and kid-friendly, but it has a really important message where the Minions did not. So, like, there's a really fun, I mean, it's fun, but it's also a serious arc with this character, with the little girl. But it's fun because you see the characters in her head, and it has a really nice conclusion in it.
It's a return to form for Pixar because they have kind of made their name making animation for not necessarily for adults, but they do a great job of kind of blending those two worlds together because obviously adults have to take their children to the movie. So they finally started making movies that both the children and the adults could make or could enjoy. And so I really liked how they blended that. And I mean, they've done a great job with it for years now. This is probably one of their best work as far as taking a complex idea like this and making it so simple that little kids can understand it, but also having humor that adults can appreciate.
Yep, exactly. And I don't know, I just really respect that, and I respect Pixar a lot. So I was happy to see them make a film like this.
And you kind of mentioned the message. And I think it's an important message that it's okay to be sad sometimes. I think some people try to be happy all the time and they kind of push some stuff down, and that's obviously not very healthy. So
yep.
I think that's definitely an important message, that you're not a weird person just because you get sad. You get sad. That's what happens. And a lot of times what the point the movie tries to make is the fact that if you're sad, a lot of times that your family will come and try to cheer you up, and that might lead to something that may or may not have happened otherwise. So sadness sometimes can kind of lead to other things. And
yep, for sure. It was just a really strong movie, and that was your number 2 as well, right?
Yep.
All right.
So that was me kind of piggybacking off of yours.
All right, awesome. So are we ready for our number 1s?
Yeah, I kind of spoiled mine a little bit, but
and if you have been paying attention at all, you'll know my number 1 as well. So my number 1 is Kingsman.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So you weren't paying attention.
Well, no, I remember. It kind of, when you said that, I was like, number 1. Wow.
No, I love this movie. I adore this movie. I saw it twice in theaters, and I haven't watched it since it's been out on Blu-ray, but I'm really looking forward to popping it in and giving it another go, just because it was so much fun. And I love the action. I love the way that Matthew Vaughn shoots his action movies. I think that it's beautiful. Like, we talked about the church scene already, but that scene was, even though it was grossly violent, it was just so poetic as well. He's an amazing director, and I really respect him. I think the casting was awesome. Colin Firth was fucking amazing.
Yeah, he was.
Movie. And it just hit all the right notes for me. You mentioned me saying that we should review it for the podcast because I think we were going to like it. And even though I went into it thinking I was going to like it because I'd heard good word of mouth, I ended up loving it more than I thought I would. So I'm interested to see where it falls at the end of the year, just because it came out in February. And usually there's like no January or February movies on my end of the year list. And for it to come out on that weird point of the year and be not only so successful, but so good was really refreshing.
Yeah.
All right, man.
For sure.
That's all I got for Kingsman that has not been said already.
All right.
What do you got for your number 1?
Well, if you've been paying attention, it's Mad Max.
Yep.
And I thought it was a really good point that you brought up, that it's not really even a Mad Max movie. Like, he could have not even been in this movie, and I would have been okay with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a fantastic movie. But that being said, I don't necessarily care that much about the franchise. We did a top 5 summer movie preview, and I think I made this point on that episode that I was actually really looking forward to Mad Max because it's not a franchise that I care about. So there's been a lot of movies that have come out that I've been nervous about because I love the Avengers, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I am liking the Terminator franchise less and less, but that's a franchise that I grew up on. So there's movies that I really care about because I care about the franchises. This is one where I was kind of rest easy that no matter what happened, I wasn't gonna care really, that either way, I was either gonna love it or I was gonna hate it. Either way, I was gonna be fine with it because I didn't really care about the franchise. They weren't really ruining anything for me.
Yeah. And
I was just blown away. Like, I want to go back and really get into the franchise because this movie is so great. But like you said, it doesn't even need to be a Mad Max movie, and it still would have been great. The practical effects, it's just basically a 2-hour chase scene.
Yep.
And it's shot beautifully. There's a few scenes here and there that I could do without. There's a bit of a loose thread with one of the, I guess they call it queens, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Are they queens? Is that what they call it?
That's the right word. But.
Where I thought that they kind of teased that the Mad Max, you never see her go under the wheel. And I thought that there was going to be a callback. Well, not necessarily a callback, but there was going to be some infighting because of that, because he kind of leaves her.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know for sure that she's dead. They kind of hinted that, but then it never comes back later in the movie. So there's a few things here and there like that, but it's really nitpicking because it's such a beautiful, well done movie. It rocks. I mean, the music is fucking fantastic. It fits the tone so well. I mean, it's just a great movie.
Yeah, for sure. I adore it. And like you said, not having any connections to the prior Mad Max movies played a lot into that as well, I think.
Yeah. But I really think that either way, I would have really loved this movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's like, while you were saying that, it kind of reminded me of Planet of the Apes. So like,
oh, I was so nervous.
You're this huge Planet of the Apes fan, and here they are putting out these new ones now. Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and you know, if one of those messes up, it would wreck you.
Yeah.
Well, not wreck, like you wouldn't. Like,
I'm getting less and less nervous because
yeah,
I was super nervous with Rise, and then it was awesome, and then I was just like, well, as long as it's just as good as Rise, I'll be okay. And it was so much better.
Yeah.
And so now I'm kind of resting easy a little bit because I think they're doing a great job. So,
or I guess maybe a more broad example would be the way that people responded to episode 1. So anytime you revisit a franchise and you don't do well, it can crush you. So that movie did not have that going for it. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for some people, just not for us.
Yeah. I don't know those people, but I think one of my buddies, like I remember him watching the Mad Max movies in high school and trying to get me into them and trying to get me to watch like Beyond Thunderdome, and I just really didn't get it. And I think I'd appreciate them more now if I rewatched them now. But
the first Mad Max movie is it's kind of weird. It almost reminds me more like a RoboCop type of movie because he's a cop in the movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just kind of a weird vibe. Like Road Warrior is much more like Fury Road than Mad Max is.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man. Well, that does it. I mean, we already kind of did our nerd least favorite earlier.
Yeah.
So I guess that's it. I don't know how to end this episode because we normally have a set schedule, I guess you would call it that.
What a weird little episode this was.
No, but it was fun. I like kind of checking in and talking about the movies that we liked. And I was glad that we did this and not just kind of set this week out.
Yep, for sure.
All right. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at The Nerds Podcast, like us on Facebook, follow us on Google+, vote for us for Podcast of the Month at podcastland.com. Rate, review, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, basically any podcast directory. You can email us at thenerdsyourlookingfor@gmail.com. Any comments, suggestions, whatever. Definitely check out our new YouTube channel. I think we have some good videos that we're kind of working on right now. I'm trying to work on some new stuff. Hopefully it'll be coming out soon. I don't mean to be so vague with it, but I don't know. I don't want to put it out there and it not work out. So
yeah,
I'm definitely excited about some of the stuff that I'm working on right now. So stay tuned for that. I can't think of anything else.
That's about it, man.
All right.
I don't know why I just fucked up my, I thought I was done talking. No, that's about it, I think.
All right, cool, man. For Patrick Kuhn,
Tyler Hunt,
we are the nerds you're looking for. Take it easy, guys.
See you guys later. My only thing, like, what do you do with a patch?
I don't know. I think it's just collecting.
You should get a vest and sew each patch you get into this vest and wear this vest.
I'm not going to wear the vest, and I'm not going to ever buy a vest. I don't know why I said it like, yeah, I was considering buying a vest. I wasn't at all.
You played it off like that's something you might actually do. You just would never wear.
Like a brownie vest.